welcome to the Around the Ballpark podcast. My name is Mike Redmond, alongside my co-partner, my co-host, Darren Redmond. And today we're talking all things Boston Red Sox, a team that is near and dear to my heart because I recently, for the first time, just a couple of weeks back, went to Fenway Park for the very first time. And here to talk about the Boston Red Sox, we have a very special guest on here. He is known as the Ritt, and he is going to tell a little bit about himself, and then we'll kind of jump into what we're going to talk about here today. Thank you for joining us.
All right, but first, I got to let people know, my apologies there, Ritt, the Ritt. And by the way, there's two things, the Bronx and the Ritt, and then everything else. So that works for me. So attention, Palm Bay, and everybody else who's listening, but Palm Bay especially, do you have tax troubles? Nashville Tax Solutions has got you covered. Whether you're behind on your returns, facing no lien, or just need that expert advice that you can't get anywhere else, their team is ready to help. Here what some of the clients have emailed to both Mike and myself. Chris Bennett and his team saved me from a financial nightmare. They're knowledgeable, clear, and compassionate. So don't let taxes stress you out. Reach out to Nashville Tax Solutions today. The worst thing you can do is just stick your head under a pillow and hope it goes away. All right. So call 615-502-2250. Visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or email info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com. Nashville Tax Solutions, where tax resolution is achieved. I'm sorry. The Ritt, talk. Let's talk.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, first off, thanks for having me come on. I really appreciate it. Love talking about the Boston Red Sox. I am one of the hosts of the Pesky podcast that is on Boston Sports Entertainment Network. We've been podcasting for a little over a year and a half now, so we're still new, but we've had amazing guests. We've had Keith Folk on. We've had Devin Marrero. We've had Jonathan Papelbon. We actually now work hand in hand with Jonathan Papelbon and Tanner Houck and his organization, his charity, Caritas Family Solutions. And we actually help produce the Houckamania shirts that you've seen on Wally. You've seen them on the Nesson Post game. So it's just been a really great experience in a short amount of time that we've been a part of podcasting.
Well, that's awesome. Love the t-shirt. Definitely. I'm a lifelong WWE fan. I think I've missed one episode of Raw. So big Hulk Hogan guy back in the day. So love it.
Yeah. I've always loved wrestling myself. And, you know, we all know Tanner Houck will probably 9 times out of 10 make the All-Star team. So you always got to sit there and be changing the merchandise and bringing it up. So, you know, us and Pap, we've been talking, and, you know, I might as well drop it here for you guys, a little small scoop.
I'm ready.
And if he makes the All-Star team, you know, Hogan turned heel, and it made big career move. So when Houck makes the All-Star team, we're going to be putting out some Hollywood Houck merchandise.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yes. He's the third man. He's the third man. Love it. That is outstanding.
I love that. I thought you were going to, mention the heel, then I saw where you were going. I thought you were going to just go CG Houck for like complete game. Like that's like a rarity. It's like an eclipse. I love
it. His complete game dawned the emergence of Houckamania on the Nesson Post game. You know, that's when, you know, the shirts came about. We sent up TC, Jim Rice, and Papelbon one of our shirts. That's when they put it on the Nesson Post game, and, well, the rest is history.
Yeah, one thing I love about it, you know, one of the teams we talk about here sometimes, the Tampa Bay Rays have Randy Land. And although he's not having anywhere near the season that he had last year, just having that marketing ability, that's something that Major League Baseball can always benefit from, is having more individuals that can be relatable. And so I love that whole thing. And let's go ahead and start with Fenway Park before we even get into the team. I have to say, I've said this once before, but just about a month ago, I would say, for the very first time. Definitely on the bucket list of ballparks. I've only been to 5 actually, but that was always at the top, and couldn't be any nicer. Like we came, my wife's a Rays fan, like I mentioned, so we came decked in Rays gear, and they couldn't have been any nicer. There was just the whole atmosphere, start to finish, the bottom of the 7th, the bottom of the 8th, the bottom of the 9th. We were fortunate to get to a 12th inning one of the days we were there when they played Tampa, and just it was just an electric. And I couldn't say enough good things about the fans in Boston. It was tremendous.
Yeah, well, my first time going to Fenway Park, I stayed in Woburn, so it was outside of Boston, and took the train in, and then took the Green Line in. And I asked the lady at the hotel, I'm like, so how do you get to Fenway Park? And she goes, well, see those people over there? I said, yeah. Wearing Red Sox stuff? Yeah. Just follow them. They'll be able to help you more than I will. And there was more than enough people, to sit there and help you along the way. It was a great experience. 2 days later, once I got the route down packed, I was doing the same thing, paying it forward, helping, hey,
Yep.
which one do you sit there and go on? Oh, just follow me. We'll go right there. And I've got to ask you, Mike, when you were going, like you're in the concourse, and then when you first walk up the ramp to get out to the field, what was your thoughts? Like, because I know what my thoughts were when I finally got to see it. I looked over, seen the monster, seen the grandstand. Like, what were your thoughts?
Well, complete overwhelm, because like I felt like one thing I really try to do is when I'm in a moment that I know is special, I try to like soak it all in. So I wanted to kind of keep up with the traffic and keep going, but I also wanted to stop and look around. So I probably had people bump into me from behind because they were trying to keep it moving, but I was just trying to soak it all in, selfies and just because I knew I was grateful enough to be able to go to 2 games back to back. But I still, that first night, you never knew, rain outs, whatever. I was going to soak in every possible moment. So I just felt like kind of like, when you go to a bar or whatever, watching, maybe they have several different games on, maybe it's Sunday football or whatever. And you're just kind of like, oh, going around like this. That's what I felt like I was doing, because it was just like, I knew I was going to be there for the whole game, but my eyes were just going all over the place with that.
Yeah, my first game, actually my favorite seats I always go to. I love, and a lot of people, want to be close to the action. I love sitting in first row, right behind the bullpen.
That's that's where, I'm sorry to cut you off, Ritt. That's where I have a partial season ticket plan. And I told Michael that's exactly where I am now. I'm not first row, but I'm about halfway up on the aisle. As you know, right around there, you go right down. You got all the food you need, bathrooms. Above you have a nice place you get a libation. That area is fantastic.
I love it. I took my son there to his first game years ago. It was Sunday Night Baseball, Red Sox Yankees, and we're sitting right behind the dugout, first row. Not the dugout, the bullpen. And I looked over and told my son, I'm like, these guys are at work. Don't bother them. They don't come to your job and bother you. And he's like maybe like 8. So, but he was really polite. And you probably know, Darren. You see kids running up all the time. Gimme.
Yep.
Drew Pomerantz, and this is how long ago this was. Drew Pomerantz was warming up, and my son got his warm up ball because he was just there, just watching, and he wasn't all gimme. And then it was even better than that. He a little bit later, Koji Urahara was there and warming up. He got his warm up ball also. So the catcher that warms him up came over to me. He goes, I have never seen a more well behaved kid ever sitting in those seats. He goes, I commend him. So that's the way I sit there. I like to teach my kid. He had great experiences. Another time I was sitting behind the bullpen was, and to this day, I still don't understand how Chris Sale playing the Rockies on my birthday, seeing him warm up, I just seen something in him. he had what do you have? I think he had like 18 strikeouts that game, and we still lost because Brandon Workman came in and gave up a home run. It was his only home run Brandon Workman gave up all year, and I'm like, really?
Right.
Really, yeah. And the experience, of course, so we got there the 90 minutes prior, so we can actually see the entire batting practice and where you were, no matter, there's no bad place to stand there, and just watching the balls go over and hitting the green monster was a sight. It's hard as an adult male to get a ball at a game because the children get it first and then the females get it second. So normally if an adult male gets one, it's after all the children in the section have already gotten their fair share of balls, then we can keep it because, the right thing to do is pass it along. But one thing so many positive experiences, and one thing we talked about in this podcast before, like the food experience, one thing I really liked about Fenway is you can go there and just get the food that you're supposed to have at a ballpark. One joke I've made that I've seen at other stadiums, I've seen people eating carrots, I've seen Caesar salads, I've seen apples. I don't want that at a ballpark. Give me the good stuff. Give me the peanuts, give me the popcorn. Let me make a mess. So
yeah. I know it's not Fenway Park, but I don't know, Mike, if you've ever been to Camden Yards. Oh my goodness, they have the amazing crab cakes.
Yes.
All to die for. Like,
yes, that's a good pull. That is a good pull. I've been there. Little Boop Pals ribs. So how long ago I was there, and then some crab cakes. Oh, the best.
Yeah. Yes. So, but the food at Fenway is great though. It's what you expect. Whatever you do, to all your listeners, if you take your kids with, tell them don't ever put your hand up, because I remember my son. I turned around and he had a thing of peanuts, and I turned to the left and I had the vendor, like, giving me the old
yeah.
And I look at my son. I'm like, "What'd you do?" He goes, "I put my hand up." I'm like, "Don't do that.
You don't do that at auctions, and you don't do it at Fenway."
Yeah. So, but it was a great experience. It's one that I'll never forget. Probably my favorite experience at Fenway. Extra innings. David Ortiz. It was on my birthday. I went to the game. Spent a little bit more than I should have for seats. Right. But I was second row, right behind the on deck circle.
Oh, beautiful!
Like these guys were right there. Went extra innings against the Astros. David Ortiz walk-off double, and it was his. He was like the fourth or fifth player in MLB history to have 400 career home runs, 500 career doubles, and it was absolutely amazing experience. The place was absolute screaming when Ortiz was up, with a man on second. So that is probably by far my favorite Fenway experience ever.
No, I would imagine it's beautiful.
Kind of hard to top that. And I think, what you said, maybe you spent a little bit too much, maybe, but how many times have we been gifted free tickets somewhere, or you get the nosebleed seats, you get the cheap seats, and then all of a sudden the parking $70, I think, that, or you have you get you get full tank of gas, you get this, you get that. All of a sudden you might have not spent a little too much on the ticket, but with all of a sudden this free experience has turned into this massive thing. So how many opportunities you're going to get to sit that close and see that special of a moment.
And before we move on to something else, I'm sure you have for us, Mike, but we've done this for a while. But Fenway, like a lot of other places, people just realize this: bring your credit card. Most of the area most of the vendors don't take cash. A lot of the concession stands don't take cash. And you know what? It's clean. It's quick. Let's go. They do a really good job of moving the line without you feeling rushed.
Yeah, definitely. So let's dive in a little bit to the.
I just had one more thing I would love to say, Mike. I don't know if you and Darren had the experience, but I recommend, no matter where you sit at any ballpark, always sit there and talk to the people around you. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. You never know who's next to you. I sat next to several people in several ballparks, and I always had a great time. And after each game,
true.
I had 5 different people tell me, hey, I'm a season ticket holder. You ever want tickets, I'll give it to you face value. Here's my number. So you don't have to go spend the extra upkeep of 20-30% on StubHub or whatever, and you get a great relationship and a friendship out of it too.
I think that's great.
Yeah, that's great. And I was telling them, and I actually was the one that kind of picked that game, but thinking back to it, we talked to everybody and anyone we could around us, and I'm grateful we did. I almost wish that I would, even though it was great to see the Rays, and I almost wish I would have picked a different any other team, because you couldn't help it in the 8th and the 9th when they're playing Dropkick Murphys and they're singing Sweet Caroline. I mean, we're still singing along, but you want to kind of high five people, and so I didn't get that aspect of it. They probably would have, even though I was wearing Rays stuff. So if I get to do it again, maybe I'll just pick a random any other team. Darren and myself are actually long-suffering Met fans. The wife's a Rays fan, so but. So anyway, as we kind of chat, was kind of moving forward to the 2024, just looking at the 2024 Boston Red Sox. One person that I didn't know much about, just because at the time Boston hadn't played Tampa yet, but Jarren Duran, outfielder, completely enamored by his play. Just something special about him. And I seen some articles recently, like a quiet sleeper on making the All-Star team. I hope so. That's the kind of player that just the hustle that I saw in just those 2 games alone was, I was made sure I didn't miss an at bat, let's just say. What are your thoughts on him? Because for me, in the lineup, obviously you have some stars there, but he was the one I made sure to watch every at bat.
Jarren Duran's come a long way since he made his debut. People in Boston this season he made his debut wanted his head. He couldn't play defense very well. He was very streaky, and he couldn't find his way out of the slumps. So they sent him back down to the minors, and he worked on himself. And Alex Cora just gave him advice: have some fun. He was part of Team Mexico in the World Baseball Classic, and didn't really participate in spring training last season. And then Adam Duvall got hurt after he was on fire last season. And here comes Jarren Duran up. And it was a different guy. Like, he was able to adjust. And we're seeing it even more this season. He's been able to, they shifted him over to left field. He's able to play, center field a little bit better, where he's, getting the jump and getting a great read on the ball. They moved him over to left field when Ceddanne Rafaela's is covering center field, and he's able to play him off the monster, and that he improved defensively immensely. But then you look at him at the plate, and he's able to get out of a slump. He's able to get on base, numerous ways. And when he's on the base path, that's when you gotta watch, because he can steal second. He'll steal third. He stole home plate twice this season so far. And he's able to sit there. And he's able to sit there and get the home run, because he has that power. He's a great leadoff guy. To me, he kind of reminds me of a Jacoby Ellsbury when we had him in the prime. And the first round of All-Star votes that was out, he was in, wasn't even in the top 20. Like, that is a shame. Looking statistically, he's a top 4 or 5, outfielder in all of baseball.
Yeah, and he, just to think of his speed, it reminds me of what Billy Hamilton back from Cincinnati could have been if he actually could ever get on base. Because feel like we get him on the base paths and anything could happen for sure with that. And you mentioned, I just, don't want to sidebar, but you mentioned the word all-star. Got to get your thoughts. I know this is a sidebar, but of the one thing Darren and I were talking about offline recently were the all-star uniforms and the all-star hats that were just released. For me, complete eyesore. I wish I don't have the old school thinking. I miss, like Darren was saying, miss when the team, the team that you represented, you were wearing that uniform to the game. What are your thoughts on that? And then Darren, kind of go to you with that.
I kind of enjoy the hat. To me, it was a travesty. What was it, last year when they got switched from Colorado, because Colorado's All-Star Game jerseys were ridiculous, and then they switched to Atlanta. It was either last year or the year before that happened, and I was like, the All-Star jerseys for this season, I'm not really a big fan of. I kind of like the old school, just like American League, and then you wear your own hat for your team, representation out there. I kind of like that. So, but you got to make a way to sit there in MLB to try to make some extra money. So you gotta be fancy. But the jerseys, I think, are horrible this season. But the hats, I could actually get away with.
So with myself, and again, that's why everybody has opinions, and that's awesome. I despise the fact that they have hats and jerseys on the All-Star team that does not specifically listen. You're representing the American League, you're representing the National League. To do that, you have the best from individual teams. When you played for the woeful Mets in the 70s, man, you couldn't wait to see John Stearns, the guy who was mandatory Met, played the 8th inning with his blue hat on. I mentioned in my on my social media today, J.R. Richard, long gone way too soon. You want to see him wear his Astro stuff. You want to see Carl Yastrzemski, not in a stupid City Connect jersey, not in a stupid All-Star jersey, because, come on, we got to sell more crap. He was Mr. Red Sox in the 60s after Ted Williams retired and before we had Big Papi. You want to be able to say, that's my guy. Instead of, just this mishmash, who is it? But let's bet. So, let me ask this. Like, for example, my partial season ticket plan, a lot of the games are Saturdays. So I like the City Connect, but can I please see the home whites every once in a while, which I won't on Saturday. But what do you think of that?
Me?
Yeah.
I like the City Connects that the Red Sox wear because they only bring them out on certain occasions. Like, if they've always brought them out if we're on a losing streak and we want to turn around.
I'm good with that, by the way. Just change the mojo. I'm fine with that.
Exactly. But to sit there and what are your guys' thoughts on some of these City Connect jerseys overall? Like, we just got them playing Toronto and they had their City Connect jerseys on, and they were the most ugliest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, some teams don't put any thought whatsoever in these.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I can't find one that I'm indifferent on. It's kind of like ham and pineapple on a pizza. You either absolutely love it or you're like, oh goodness, what is this mess? No one's indifferent. There's no one that likes it part of the time. So for me, there's some that hit a home run. Tampa, they hit a home run. Actually, kind of like the Cardinals one as well. Some of them hit a home run. Watching the Pirates game today with the PGH, not a big fan at all. I don't know but yeah. So Toronto's not a big fan.
Jeff Cronin, who I've interviewed on my podcast, who wrote the book Showtime and was at the HBO special Winning Time about the Lakers. He said it best, in my opinion. He said, especially with the San Diego Padre one, which is just horrible. He said, it's as if somebody said, let's see how bad we can make a jersey and people buy anyway. Let's see how stupid people are. Because some of it is just trash. And then they come up with these fake reasons. Well, for example, with this Met City Connect jerseys. Well, they're great is because of concrete. And stop. Can we just wear we both, Red Sox guy, Met guy, was supposed to hate the Yankees, right? But one thing I got to give the Yankees credit for is these are our uniforms. Go pound sand. We're not wearing anything else. These were tradition. It's okay. It's okay to change things every once in a while. And I do like change, believe it or not, but make it look cool. I mean, go ahead,
instead of having the City Connect jerseys, I would rather see some of these teams do the throwback jerseys, like the Phillies,
yes.
the old powder blue one.
Oh, the zipper. Oh, yeah. I love that.
Sit there and throw some old school Astros jerseys.
Yes.
The bright orange. The throwback the Florida Marlins jerseys.
Yes.
I'd rather see throwback jerseys out there than see these City Connect jerseys sometimes.
So how did you? I got to ask this question. I'm sorry, Mike, to jump in, but
you're fine.
Here's my one question I have for you tonight, and this is something we should ask more often. How did you become a Red Sox fan? Walk me through that. I love that.
It was almost every sports team that I've liked was because of my dad.
Oh, beautiful.
So I was a Giants fan. I am a New York Giants fan. First game I ever watched with my dad was when Theismann's leg went the other way.
Oh, remember Lawrence Taylor?
Yep. Like it, and to this day, I always say that was probably the most disgusting thing I've ever watched. And the bad part is the cameraman didn't want to. They didn't cut away.
No.
Like. So my dad was a Red Sox fan, so I kind of followed suit with him. But then when they were really, really losing in the 90s, he switched to become a Phillies fan. So I kind of rode him on that a little bit. So, but yeah, I stuck by it, and in Fever Pitch, the movie,
right?
The one line that always sits there and touches base is, "The Red Sox will break your heart, kid." Yeah. And for the longest time, they did until 2004.
You know what you sounded like, and that is a very underappreciated movie. I forget the name of the writer, but he was in the documentary Baseball by Ken Burns, and he was in the original one, and then the one after they won the World Series, and he was talking about how much disappointment he had as a Red Sox fan. And I want to cry talking about this. He said in '86, they went to the games and this and that. And, and then they lost to the Yankees before they came back and won the 3 in a row the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I cursed my son. And he meant it. Like he said, my son is going to live through the heartbreak that I had. And am I really being a good dad, laying this legacy down? And then, of course, they went 4 in the last, 20 years, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's true. Oh, I got one other thing, if I may. Devers and O'Neill, close to 30 home runs between the two of them, maybe 30 by now, who knows? They don't get enough love.
No. If you look at ESPN, you look at MLB Baseball Tonight, everybody wants to talk about the Yankees, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at Devers' numbers, Devers is having an AL MVP candidate season right now.
100%.
He is top 3 in almost all categories in third baseman. In my opinion, he's top 3. If MVP voted started and ended right now, he's got to be top 3. Yep. And O'Neill, you have to look at what he's done, but he's been on the IL, off and on all season. So just think of how many more home runs they could have, what his numbers would be like, and that's exactly what the Red Sox need. They needed that power right-hand bat in that lineup. Also, Devers has been doing all these numbers, and I've never ever liked him in the 2 spot.
Right.
But he's been covering the 4 spot, and he's had Tyler O'Neill behind them, and the Red Sox are getting healthy now. Like, everybody counted us out.
They're going to make a run. They're going to make a run.
they've been playing 500 ball with all these guys on the IL, and we just got Masataka Yoshida back. Will Abreu just came back, and before he went on the IL, they were talking about how he was a top 3 to top 5 AL Rookie of the Year candidate. And then when he's gone, David Hamilton and Ceddanne Rafaela both are also rookies, and they're being in talks for AL Rookie of the Year. So it's an absolute great time to be a Red Sox a fan this season. On the Pesky podcast, we went and we were talking about preseason spring training. We gave our predictions. I said the Red Sox would finish 3rd with a wild card chance. Yep. No one sit there and agreed with me. They all laughed at me. And now look at it. We're in 3rd. We're a half a game behind Minnesota right now. Our pitching staff, who no one, including myself, thought we were going to be anywhere good, and Tanner Houck, carried and continues to carry our pitching staff. Cutter Crawford is doing an amazing job. Pivetta is doing really good. We just need Brian Bayo to actually figure out what he's doing wrong, so he can actually get into the game too.
Well, Mike, I have another little guy, but I'm going to wait. Don't want to talk about.
I just real quick, and because I want to cut off, but that we were talking about the City Connect jerseys, the us being Met fans right now. I feel like at some point, Darren, I think we're a few wins away from having a Grimace patch on the
100%
jerseys. I saw the bellies with the no shirts with the Grimace on the chest.
Hey, listen, that's whatever it takes, my friend.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. Doesn't cost us any extra money to see that. But so one thing the success of a fan base, when I was at Fenway and I saw Devers, I saw Devers jerseys everywhere, and actually saw a couple of O'Neill jerseys as well. There are some struggling franchises like with the Miami Marlins. You go there and every jersey you see is from a different team or someone who hasn't played for 23 years. You see the Sheffield jerseys, the Conine jerseys. You don't see Chisholm Joe's jerseys. You don't see De La Cruz jerseys, and that's a shame. So, and then one thing too, I didn't get to watch the game, but it seemed like a lot of fun. They had the Savannah Bananas were recently at Fenway, complete sellout again. I've seen a couple, things here and there of them, but just kind of wanted to point that out. So just wanted to we got about 10 minutes left here. So I just wanted to dive into some of their World Series runs. So of course,
can I just, I'm sorry, just to the here and now real quick. And I normally don't, right? But I'm using the old guy talking about yesterday, and we had no shoes. But who would you say is the most under the radar productive player for the Red Sox?
Under the radar productive player,
not nationally.
Are we talking on the major league roster right now?
Yeah.
Man, if I had to say an under the radar, which he's not really under the radar, it'll be Ceddanne Rafaela, just because he is and I call him a pure athlete. Mm-hmm. He's had equal starts in center field and shortstop, two of the hardest positions to play, let alone playing at center field at Fenway Park with the Bermuda Triangle out there.
Yeah.
So, and I've dubbed it Ceddanne Field because center field is good enough for him. It's his field, and he's been able to be a human highlight reel, with catch after catch, play after play, and for the longest time, coming from the 9 spot, he has for the longest time was leading the team in RBIs. And that's something crazy to do from the 9 spot. So that's who I would say would be one of the under the radar. And he continues to bat and get improved also. He was batting, somewhere around like 198. Now he's batting close to 260 now. So he's improving.
So you
And
could
he's got
real
a lot
control.
of strong power too. He's not just a guy when he may not hit a ton of home runs just yet, but like he's not a guy that's going to bloop it over the fence. I remember I saw in one of the two games I went to, it got out of there in a hurry. Let's just say that.
So to me, now granted, the average everyday player right now has about 380, 350 at bats. This guy I'm thinking of has about 200 at bats. But you give me a catcher who can bat 330, 7 home runs already, 66 hits, 29 RBIs, Connor Wong all day and every day. Talk about him. Talk about him.
Connor Wong was, and sometimes I get tired of still hearing this, was the named person in the Mookie Betts trade.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, he was known for his defense. And don't get me wrong, he's in top. I think he's in top 10 in pop.
Mm-hmm.
So he's able to sit there and throw out, a person with ease. But then this season, all of a sudden, he's been starting to get extra base hits. And one thing I want to sit there and say, a lot of the Red Sox players, including Connor Wong, have been going the opposite field. They're not pulling the ball, and doing so, he's able to sit there and get extra base hit. He's been able to sit there and get RBIs. And Connor Wong, for a catcher, he's not built like a catcher.
He's not.
He's built like a second baseman, so he has a little speed too, because he has a couple stolen bases.
Yeah, he reminds me of Benito Santiago that way. Same kind of frame.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We are big fans of backstops here on the show.
Yes.
For sure. They don't get the love because you look at, I guess let's just go there since we're kind of here. We talk about, one of the things we do on this channel a lot is we talk about, okay, what's the Mount Rushmore and whatnot. And most of the time catchers are not included and if nothing else but an honorable mention, but there's so many there. And if you can get any production, whether it's still stolen bases or anything offensively, it's a bonus. And then there's some talent right now. You look at Baltimore with their catcher as well. There's some guys, but so Mount Rushmore, I feel like there's so many people, but I feel like with Boston, I can name a Mount Rushmore and then there's debate. I feel like there's not a debate that you could debate who's in the honorable mention, like who's in level 2. But for me, at least, Carly Strempsey, Ted Williams, David Ortiz, and Pedro Martinez. Kind of hard to alter those 4, but do either of you put anyone else in there in the 4? I mean, I know who's in tier 2, but who would you take out if that was the case?
It's funny you say that because, and I will get criticized for this, but and this is a personal preference, and you guys are gonna like it. I don't put Yaz in that category. I put him in tier 2. So my 4th one, all my other 3 are just like you, Mike. I love Veritek because he was the captain. He was able to manage that pitching staff, coach the pitching staff. Only catcher to catch 4 complete game shutouts by 4 different pitchers. Like,
that's a good pull. That's a good pull.
So a lot of people want to sit there and put him in tier 2. I always loved Tech. Without him back there with some of those younger guys, Lester's, Buckholtz, they might not have been as great pitchers without having, because you got to have a great pitcher, you got to have somebody that calls a great game too. So that's my personal 4. You can't argue Pedro, you can't argue David Ortiz, and you can't argue Ted Williams. But so, I personally put Veritek in there. And tier 2, then you got Yastrzemski. Me personally, I put Tim Wakefield in there. So just because, of all the numbers he has and stuff like that. But, I always get in trouble when I always put Veritek over top of Yaz.
So with me, I have Yaz in my top tier. And again, this is why we do this, right? And this is the wonderful thing about baseball. And one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of the pitch clock, because you used to be able to do this over a couple of years in between pitches. you know, how often do you replace a legend and become a legend yourself? That stage, that's a very bright stage. And he won the Triple Crown.
Mm-hmm.
You can name the other Red Sox that won a Triple Crown. Ted Williams. Yes, that's it. So I get it. I get what you're saying in terms of the other thing. Let's put it this way. Nobody loses sleep over anybody that you left off because they're all so good, right? They're all so good. It's like, it just is. And that's great. So mine would be Williams, Yaz, a Big Poppy by far, because we just win it, without him, and you catcher Carlton Fisk, because it's funny because Johnny Bench talks about this with a little bit of tinge of anger, but like in a good way, because people forget that we won that World Series, but everybody remembers Carlton Fisk going.
That is by far the most famous home run of a team that didn't win the game.
Yeah, exactly. But again, I don't lose sleep because I think Veritek is a great choice. I do. Martinez is a wonderful choice.
Yeah, the tier two between your Manny Ramirez and your Nomar Garcia Parras and your Clemens and your Schillings, there's it's tough for sure. One thing I want to make sure we have time to just chat about real quick is the World Series championships, 4 World Series championships between 2004 and 2018. But what's remarkable the most that really stands out when you look at that is 16 wins and 3 losses in those 4 championships. That's amazing. You kind of felt when they were down 3-0 and come back and win that the Cardinals were doomed for failure at that point. That wasn't much of a series. Probably the best one of the 4 in terms of competition was that 2013 Red Sox Cardinals series. But do you have? I'll start with you, Ritt, and then Darren. Just of the 4 championships, which one really stood out to you the most? Because they were also special, unique in their own way. But is there one that kind of is more important to you?
It has to be. And it's to me, it's just because it was the first one. You know what I mean? It has to be the 2004 team, and all I hear is, Kevin Millar, don't let us win tonight. Don't let us win tonight.
That's right, because we got him going tomorrow, and he got.
And then you sit there and Wakefield stepped up, but put me in, then we can sit there and keep going. And because of that, season, and Keith Folk, back to Folk, we actually came up with a shirt. It's Folk the Curse. So and the thing of it is Keith Folk was on the A's team the season before where they beat us.
Yep.
Yep. So he was one of the key pieces to help us win in that. And right after that would have to be 2018, because that team there was special. Betts, the Killer Bees, Benintendi, Jackie Bradley, the pitching staff was on point. Chris Sale, going out there to record the final out. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy when he struck out Manny Machado, because to this day, people in Boston despise Manny Machado for him personally, sliding into second and coincidentally, ended Pedroia's career in essence.
Yep. So this was, I wish we had more time to chat. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to end it with, personally, I think that I agree with you. I believe that Boston will get that last wildcard spot. I would love to see a Baltimore Boston first round playoff matchup would be outstanding. See what would happen in a short series. So, but thank you to Ritt for coming on. I'm subscribed to the Pesky podcast. You should be too. Some great content on there. You really like what you're going to hear. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Darren, as always. And until next time, everybody, we'll see you around the ballpark.